In 2020, something amazing was supposed to happen in the gaming industry that was going to shake the world as we know it. A game that was supposed to take open world gaming and role-playing to a new level. Every gamer in the entire world would collectively have their minds blown at the masterpiece that was supposed to be a new standard in the futuristic RPG genre. With insane, never-seen-before open world features like wall running, the possibility of owning multiple properties all around the city, and environmental effects like acid rain. Like, I can die from clouds, sign me up please. Cyberpunk 2077 was a game that was hyped and spoken about for over 8 years, starting when it got revealed way back in 2013 before The Witcher 3 even got released. Gamers worldwide were hyped. This was CD Projekt Red's new game and a new world built from the ground up. This was the creators of the critically acclaimed Witcher franchise that became so successful it got its own Netflix series and it didn't suck. Hype can even be an understatement to explain the anticipation that was leading up to this game's release. So there was a lot of pressure on CD Projekt Red's shoulders when 2020 hit. But don't worry, finally leading up to the April launch in 2020, they delayed the game. Okay. It was probably just to polish up a few things because the game was so incredibly amazing. We can wait until September. Okay, maybe there were more bugs than we thought. Okay, November isn't too far away. Psych! And yeah, this is where the panic started to ensue. But no one could ever be prepared for the final product CD Projekt Red actually gave us. When Cyberpunk 2077 launched, not only was it actual blatant false advertising with a plethora of missing features, not only was it a technical abomination with more bugs at launch than a cracked and modded Skyrim game downloaded from the Pirate Bay, but it was also a PR nightmare. Imagine having the balls to tell your teacher that you needed more time on your assignment that's worth 90% of your grade, not once, not twice, but 3 times, and you still didn't even get close to passing. Personally, at that point, I would have switched schools. And some of the tweets that CD Projekt Red's PR team put out are questionable at best and an absolute cringe overload at worst. People were digging into this game with absolutely no filter, and I was all there for it, considering this was on the line of becoming daylight robbery. This game was actually removed from the PlayStation Store by Sony because it was literally unplayable with all the bugs and poor optimizations on the PS4. This actually probably helped CD Projekt Red from getting even more bad reviews, ironically. W Sony. It is safe to say that it was a disaster on all fronts. Maybe even an unrecoverable disaster, some might say. CD Projekt Red went from being one of the best game developer companies with the best reputation that were known to leave greed to others, to becoming the very thing that they were calling out. It was obvious that they were pushing out the game's release just to hit those sweet Christmas wish list, and it backfired harder than a modded Honda Civic. Their reputation was down in the dumps and pretty much all their fans had their pitchforks out. But after all of this, CD Projekt Red still had some fight in them to win over gamers. Even though there was a lot, and I mean a lot, of cut content, a lot of CD Projekt Red's S-tier storytelling was still there in the base game, if you plowed through all of the bugs, of course. I played the game at launch, and I have to admit, some of the side quests in this game genuinely made me feel like I was playing a movie. And even though the game was running at like 15 frames per second, the immersion that you got while playing this game is still something incredible. The game looks beautiful when it's working, and the amount of effort that went into creating the lore and backstory is crazy. From absolutely unhinged billboards and ads that you find while traveling Night City, to the slang that you hear in every conversation. Night City really does feel like a real city when the game was working. The sense of scale that you got while playing the game is also something to behold. So behind all of the rough shit that was the game at launch, the game still had a lot to give the player. But I don't know, was it too late? Well, all of the positives in the game did allow Cyberpunk to hold onto some dedicated fans, self included. But when the Cyberpunk 2077 anime Edge Runners came out nearly 2 years later in September of 2022, we knew CDPR was cooking. And this wasn't just one of those fast food dishes either. This was some homemade shit. The reviews for the anime were really good, and it was pretty much a unanimous hit. And combining this with the numerous price cuts that the game had on multiple platforms, the player count got a resurgence, and interest in the game started to flow back in. And with the news that a DLC was on the horizon, which was rumored to be on the same level or bigger than The Witcher 3's Blood and Wine expansion, it got the fanbase to raise an eyebrow or two. Just enough to pique our gamer interest posts, but cautious enough not to make the same mistakes as before. On June 9th, CD Projekt Red announced a new expansion that they've been working on, and on September 6th, the teaser dropped, and it was a certified banger. It was movie levels of quality and promised new gameplay mechanics, and most importantly, more Keanu Reeves. Breathtaking. The hype was back, and as more and more trailers and information came out for this expansion, people started to believe CD Projekt Red had their mojo back, and when the DLC dropped, yes, with no delays, people loved it. The user reviews were amazing, and gaming critics loved it too, but I don't know if we should necessarily be listening to that after the Cuphead incident, but anyway. Steam users, who are some of the hardest to impress, let's be honest, loved the game as well. The expansion included an entire new area of the city and a new spy thriller story that took V up against the entire new United States of America government, and included a redesigned skill tree, vehicle combat, improved AI, and most of the marketing materials shown included a female version of V, which was also nice to see. In fact, according to a report from Games Industry, Phantom Liberty sold over 1 million copies on PC in its first week of release, which makes it one of the best-selling PC expansions of all time. It's safe to say they did pretty well and, dare I say, made an insane comeback, one of the best that gamers have ever seen. It was a critical and commercial success, and it showed that CD Projekt Red is still committed to Cyberpunk 2077 and its fans. Now, why am I telling you this story? Well, it sort of goes hand in hand with my previous video where I talked about the state of modern gaming and how we're either swamped with mediocrity or false advertising. Some of the worst cases were actually No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk 2077, but now, after this amazing reception of Phantom Liberty, both games managed to complete their redemption arc to deliver on most of their promises, and I think this is a huge win in the gaming community. It's pretty easy today to get sucked into the cynical view that these soulless gaming companies are just there to reach their bottom line and nothing else, and overlook these stories of companies going the extra mile to win us over again, and I think everyone deserves a second chance. So even though it might seem like the gaming industry is in shambles these days, I think it's still important to celebrate the comebacks, because at the end of the day, we as gamers are the winners. Until next time, keep gaming, gamers.